Good afternoon, my name is Jodie Davis and I'm the manager for Climate Southwest, a partnership based in Exeter in the southwest of England. I would like to thank Strada's Wolfgang for inviting me to be part of your event here today, the Tourism and Climate Change in Central Europe Science Meets Practice Conference. Sorry I couldn't be with you today, but I was trying to keep my carbon footprint down. I really hope that you find this an interesting and useful presentation, and it will help to inform some of the work that you do and the approaches that you take to tourism business across Germany. As you may be aware, through all the media coverage, not only nationally but internationally, the southwest of England and the UK was heavily impacted by extreme weather, storms and flooding across the winter of 2014. As serious as these events was, unfortunately, not only did businesses have to deal with the impact of these events directly on their business by recovering from damage or disruption, but also they were impacted by the perception that the media had portrayed that actually the southwest was closed for business. With this presentation, I intend to show you what the impacts were to the southwest, how tourism businesses were impacted, and how they are on the road to recovery. I also want to just cover a little bit about how you can change that media perception around and what tools are available to help tourism businesses be more resilient in the future. I just want to say a little bit about Climate Southwest. As I mentioned before, we work with various different sector groups, including local authorities, the transport sector, SME businesses, the tourism sector, and the health sector. We are also one of 12 partnerships across the whole of the UK. 9 are in England, 1 in Scotland, 1 in Northern Ireland and 1 in Wales. Climate UK is an umbrella body for all of these partnerships across the UK, and what we do is there to provide and help the Environment Agency deliver on their Climate Ready programme. The Environment Agency is the delivery arm of DEFRA and are helping them to fulfil the objectives within the National Adaptation Programme. I just want to put this into a little bit of context and just show you that these extreme events that we're seeing are becoming more and more frequent. Over the past 10 years, we have seen a mixture of flooding, heat waves, droughts, snow and ice events, and already in 2014 we've seen flooding, storms, gale force winds, and what next. During the event over the winter, we also saw record-breaking rains in January, with 23 days in 1 month with consecutive rainfall. We also experienced wave heights of over 15 metres in early January and a tidal surge in December 2013, which was similar to the devastating 1953 floods which devastated the southeast coast of the UK. So what were the impacts to the southwest? As you can see here, we saw loss of life, and I'm sure many of you have seen through the media coverage, we saw the loss of the railway line at Dawlish Warren, and one of the main railway routes from Exeter through to Plymouth. Extensive flooding in Devon and Cornwall, flooding in the Somerset Levels, and also river flooding in Gloucestershire. We also saw the closure of the Tamar Bridge between Plymouth in Devon and Saltash in Cornwall due to gusts of over 70 miles per hour. The southwest of England is Britain's foremost holiday destination, with the UK tourism industry worth about 4.4 billion to the southwest in terms of the gross value of the economy. This is 7% of the total of the southwest economy, second to that of London, according to the Office for National Statistics in 2011. As you can see here, tourism businesses were heavily impacted, with pre-booked guests leaving early due to bad weather. There were cancellations, decrease in spending, but one I want to focus on most is the news reports of widespread flooding, which reduced bookings throughout the whole of Somerset, but not only that, had a knock-on impact to the rest of the southwest, even though it was a very small percentage of the area that was actually suffering from either coastal flooding or inland flooding. So what was the UK response to all of the extreme weather that we'd seen across the southwest and the rest of England? Well, HMRC Time to Pay scheme meant that there was a deferral of payment taxes, including VAT, national insurance and corporation tax for 3 months. There was the Local Authority Business Rate Relief Scheme, which meant that affected businesses were offered 100% business rate relief for 3 months. There was the Business to Business Help Scheme, This was advertised on the Great Business Exchange website, and with ours there was an amazing response from many big national corporations who wanted to help smaller businesses get back on their feet. There was a repair and renewal grant. This meant that businesses and homeowners could apply to local authorities for grants of up to £5,000 to pay for repairs and actually improve their property to make it more resilient to any extreme weather or longer term climate change in the future. There was also a support to farmers. There was a 10 million one-off grant designed to help farm businesses who were flooded restore their flooded agricultural land and bring it back into production as quickly as possible. The government was also able to negotiate some support from the private sector. There was a 250 million storm fund which was available for interest-free loans for 3 months for those that had been impacted by the extreme weather. There was also the Severe Weather Recovery Scheme, worth 86.5 million, to help speed up the recovery in affected areas. A lot of money has been invested in defending the UK. General Government Action on Flood Defences has awarded £30 million to be spent on urgent flood defence repairs this year, on top of the £100 million already promised for next year. There's already 42 new flood schemes which have been given the go-ahead. 55 schemes start working this year and will protect over 43,000 households and businesses. This represents a total investment of £344 million in total. There was the deployment of military personnel to help with the clean-up and obviously to support those that were impacted by the floods get back on their feet. The Department for Transport will also provide £31 million to deliver 10 key railway projects in the southwest to improve resilience to the flooding. There's also been £30 million provided to local authorities across England to help them to maintain and repair all of their road systems. Climate South West are also involved in a local project with local authorities looking at the resilience of our road network. This will look at identifying a resilient route so that all regions across the South West are well connected. This also looks at where our vulnerable assets are and where vulnerable people are, so that we can ensure that in the event of flooding or a heat wave or any type of extreme weather, we can keep our road system open and accessible. We're also trying to develop a tool and a methodology that will help other local authorities across the UK to be able to identify these resilient routes and put measures in place to ensure that maintenance programmes keep these routes open and accessible at all costs. The insurance industry is taking climate change very seriously, as it recognises that the cost associated with the extreme weather is likely to rise. In the southwest alone, if we saw a 2-degree rise, this could increase annual insurance flood losses by 19%, leading to a potential pricing increase of 16%. A 4-degree rise could increase losses by 29%, leading to a potential pricing increase of 27%. This is something that we can't afford to do. We need to ensure that we are taking action now and ensuring that our businesses and our homes are resilient to extreme weather. So I've talked a little bit about how the insurance companies have helped, how the government have helped, but what has been done directly for tourism businesses themselves. Visit England were given a £2 million grant from government to actually help businesses get back on their feet and recover from the damage the extreme weather had caused. Not only that, there was a further £10 million that's been given to eligible businesses to again help them with clean-up costs, materials, and obviously any costs associated to help them keep trading. There was also a helpline provided which gave comprehensive support and gave businesses 1 hour with a business specialist to help them get back on their feet and understand how they could continue their business. With this £2 million, Visit England published a report responding to extreme weather. They also held events with the destination management organisations across the South West, helping businesses gain access to expert advice. As I mentioned before, a lot of the problems with the South West was the media perception of the extreme weather cutting us off and looking closed for business. So to deal with this, there was a tactical marketing campaign called Open for Business, which was launched in March. Using social media and media sources, we were able to give the message that the South West was still trading, we were still open for business, and we were still welcoming tourists to the area. There was also the Holidays at Home Are Great campaign, which used the iconic Wallace and Gromit, as you can see in the corner. This also helped bring and entice tourism back to the southwest. There was a thematic campaign funded by government's Regional Growth Fund and a promotional push abroad by Visit Britain to ensure that other countries knew that England was still open for business. Communication is key. Tourism businesses need to be communicating to their customers to let them know what's happening. As a result of the workshops that they held, it was seen that many tourism businesses needed advice and help on how to communicate more widely. So having a simple communications plan for your business was key. So the first steps are, what are your customers thinking? News travels fast, and it isn't always accurate. Even if you or your area have not been affected, always assume that major storms or flood events will trigger significant concerns with customers that you need to address. So what should you say? If your business is closed, develop a factual statement about the situation. If your business is open but the wider area is affected by weather, develop a factual statement reassuring your customers that you are open for business. If you're providing transport advice and updates on your website, keep them in the same place and make it easy to find. Be honest and transparent. Customers expect an honest approach. Know the facts, be aware of the latest information, and give them a clear idea of when you will be open again. Be clear and use everyday language, and don't assume that other people have the same level of knowledge about your business that you have. The media is a good way for sharing messages and information with visitors, potential visitors and the wider community. It isn't a substitute for communicating directly with your customers. However, it can add value. When speaking to the press directly, make sure you have your key messages prepared so that you are comfortable with what is reported. In response to the workshops that Visit England held, they then carried out a short survey afterwards to see how successful this had been and whether this had really helped tourism businesses make a difference. The survey was sent to 548 businesses who attended the workshops, with 158 businesses responding to the survey. The Southwest represented over half the responses to this survey. The diagram down the bottom is a really good way to see how tourism businesses were impacted. Since attending the workshops or the advice sessions, almost 2/3 had made at least some changes to the business, with 3/4 intending to make changes in the future. However, 14% had not and did not intend to make any changes. A third said that they had or were planning to have a written contingency plan in place for dealing with extreme weather, whilst almost half did not have a plan and were not planning to put one in place. This indicates that there's a real opportunity to further engage tourism businesses and to help them value the importance of a contingency plan so that in the event of extreme weather, they have a plan, they know what to do, and they can take action. So with challenges come opportunities. Some of the challenges include business continuity, recovery costs from events, increased insurance costs, and obviously a lot around media perception and communication. But with challenges, there also comes opportunities. There's opportunities for businesses to use social media to their advantage and communicate to their customers. There's also the opportunity to be innovative and use innovative technology. There's also new market opportunities for goods and services that can actually enhance your business and help it to be more successful. So why would a business want to be resilient? It helps to improve the goods and services. It protects their existing customer base, increases process efficiency, also cuts costs and drives profitability, lowers insurance premiums, and gives peace of mind to the customers and suppliers. So what help is out there for tourism businesses? Climate Southwest did a lot of research with their tourism sector group around communicating to tourism businesses. Postcards up there on the right, just to get the message across. We also have our Climate Prepared website, which is an online website with lots of useful information. It details the impacts of tourism businesses we expect to see in the future and looks at all the different weather variables and how that can impact on you. It also includes a checklist of very simple, easy things to do at very low cost. Number 1, identify the effects to your business. Number 2, check your flood risk. Check with the Environment Agency whether you're in a flood risk area and need to develop a flood response plan if appropriate. Get help and advice. There is lots of information available, especially on the website. Talk to other businesses. There's no better way of knowing how to overcome something than talking to someone who's already been impacted and experienced it. So case studies are very valuable, and you can also find that on the website. It's also useful to develop a business continuity plan to manage and reduce disruption from extreme weather events. Also, try and test this plan, put it into action, do a dummy run, and see where you can improve and what you could do better next time. Plan ahead, consider your markets and products. May they change in the future? Check your insurance. Check with your insurance company that you are fully covered, particularly against the effects of flood, storm, fire and subsidence damage. There's also practical actions you can take to minimise these impacts. For example, install a flood board, collect rainwater and provide access to shade and drinking water. Raise awareness with your visitors. Let them know what the problems are and what you have put in place to combat these. Climate South West have also pulled together a Changing Climate, Changing Business DVD. This was a short film featuring 11 tourism businesses that have been impacted by severe weather and have now made changes and implemented measures to ensure that this doesn't happen again. There are also tools to help tourism businesses become more resilient. As I mentioned earlier, there's the Climate Prepared website. This was pulled together by Climate South East and Climate South West with help from our tourism sector group. The website's really useful in helping you to identify the risks to your business. It also has an online checklist of quick and easy things to do that I mentioned previously. There's also the Business Resilience Health Check tool. This again is a free online tool and is hosted by Climate UK. This tool provides an online multiple choice questionnaire, and from this a bespoke action plan is generated, which uses a traffic light system to identify the actions that you can take to make your business more resilient. A pilot scheme was run across the Southwest using this tool by training the Chartered Insurers Institute members to use this with their customers. The feedback from all these events were really positive, and they really saw benefits in using this with their customers to help them reduce the impact of extreme weather and reduce future costs. Not only are there tools available, but communities are taking things into their own hands. Braunton in Devon and Lostwithiel in Cornwall have both produced plans for their area. Braunton has experienced flooding 21 times in the last 118 years. From this emerged Braunton's emergency plan, which aims to increase resilience within the local community through developing a robust, coordinated approach that complements the plans of responding agencies. Lostwithiel was flooded in 2010 and 2012, and even though it's 6 miles inland, the River Foy runs straight through it, which is tidal, and the town is set in a deep valley and receives runoff from Bodmin Moor when rainfall levels are high. They have now developed a flood management plan with help from the Environment Agency, and the town has been divided into sections which all have a flood warden. When the Environment Agency issues flood warnings, the flood wardens have a set of tasks to ensure that people remain safe and that vulnerable people can evacuate their houses. Having a plan in place has made a real difference, and the last time the river broke its banks, the impact was reduced, recovery time was quicker, and the local barber was back to business within 24 hours. They've also developed a DVD to help inspire other communities to take action. In 2013, Living with a Changing Coast project, which has been engaging communities along the Dorset coast, challenged architecture students from Bournemouth Arts University to come up with a resilient beach hut design to maintain beach huts at Studland Bay. Following a vote on the favourite design, the hut is currently being constructed by students and the National Trust. It may look simple, but it's actually designed to withstand storms, high winds, heavy rainfall, and if worst comes to worst, it can actually be removed. By identifying a problem and using innovation, we can ensure that we are resilient to extreme weather and a changing climate. I'd just like to say thank you very much for having me here today at your conference, and I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. Unfortunately, I can't answer questions today, but if you require any information or want to ask any questions, I'd be happy to answer them through Stratus. Again, thank you for having me.